On this week's episode of Ride the Lightning, the Tesla and EV podcast, Tesla held its Q3 earnings call, and as always, I've got a recap, highlight clips, and analysis of everything the Tesla executives talked about on the call. Plus, Model S and X return to Europe, Cybercab gets a production start window, and more. What's happening, friends? Ryan McCaffrey joining you here for episode 534 of Ride the Lightning, your weekly Tesla and EV podcast. I am surrounded by dogs, Daisy the Boxer to my left, Lily the silly Labrador puppy at my feet, and just out of my view is Mina the future service dog. It has been a very busy week in the world of Tesla because we had the earnings call, which I'll be digging deep into as I always do every quarter here in just a few minutes. First, a few housekeeping notes. First, I hope all of you enjoyed the interview with Franz von Holzhausen last week. It is always a pleasure, always a privilege and a treat to get to go down there and chat with him. Second, a little less happier than the Franz interview was the brief shiver that I got sent up my spine, which thankfully did not prove to be for the reason that I was worried it was going to be. And that was, if you go to Tesla.com right now, you will see right at the top that there is a Model 3 and Model Y. When you're looking at those images for those cars, it says a price increase coming in November. Now, at first I thought, oh, they're raising the prices of the cars, and that stinks. That's no good. The tax credit just went away. Now they're going to get even more expensive. Fortunately, as I looked further into it, it actually turns out that it's not going to be a price increase on the cars. It is a price increase on the leasing prices. So that's what's going up next month, not the car prices. I mean, either way, I guess it's nice that they warn people, but thankfully, it's not the bottom line MSRP purchase price. It is the lease pricing. So if you are considering leasing a new Tesla before the quarter ends, just bear that in mind. If you're able to move a little bit more quickly and do so in the next week or so here, certainly you can save a bit of money doing that. Now, I realize that not everybody can just move their timeline up on a big deal like leasing a new car, but I certainly wanted to mention it right here at the top of the podcast, just in case that information is helpful to anybody. Indefinite good news this week. In Europe, the Model S and Model X are back. The refreshed 2026 model year S and X are finally available in Europe. The cars, of course, hadn't been available there at all for a good number of months, so this is fantastic to see. There is a downside to this, and that is it's left-hand drive only. So Tesla's still not choosing to make right-hand drive versions of them, which I know rules out a number of territories, including at least a couple in Europe. I can't rule out the possibility that they won't do right-hand drive at some point, but for now, it is left-hand drive only on the new S and the new X. Speaking of Europe, by the way, this is some definite good news with no downside. The Model Y has reclaimed its top spot as the best-selling car overall in Europe. And yes, that's car overall, not SUV, not EV, not EV SUV, just best-selling new car, period, in Europe. I saw this reposted on Tesla's X account, and the article comes courtesy of autonews.com, who writes, "The Tesla Model Y was Europe's best-selling car in September, returning to the number one slot for the first time in 9 months, even though sales fell 8.6% to 25,938 units compared with the same month last year. So year over year, it's down, but it's still the number one car overall in Europe for the month of September. Getting back to the auto news story, it has been a year of dramatic swings for the full electric midsize SUV, which slipped to number 60 in sales in July from second place in June. That's just the Model Y changeover right there. Also, they mentioned that in August, the Model Y finished 17th, so it was climbing back after falling off because, of course, of the lag in deliveries of the new one once they went into production on the new one. The Model Y, is the fourth model to finish a month at number 1 this year. The others are the Dacia Sandero, which has been on top 4 times, the Renault Clio, which has won 3 monthly titles, and the Volkswagen T-Roc, which was first in August. Quick aside, I find it just kind of interesting that none of those 3 cars are available in the United States. Just sort of an interesting, I guess the European market clearly likes them though, which almost makes it weirder that they're not here because, well, if Europe likes them a lot, wouldn't there be a market for them in the US? But anyway, that's neither here nor there for this podcast. Autonews.com concludes by saying the Clio was Europe's number 2 seller in September. And then the top 3, rounding out the top 3, was the Sandero, which was up slightly. So, of course, again, the new Model Y just wasn't in full production for a lot of the last 9 months. That's definitely a piece of it. And yes, there were some other, shall we say, extracurricular factors affecting things at parts of this year as well, kind of at the same moment, coincidentally, as the new Model Y was debuting and ramping up in production. But here we are with the fantastic new Model Y back atop the charts. As completely irrelevant to this story, because this story is about Europe, and what I'm about to say is hyper-focused on where I live, here in the San Francisco Bay Area. But I am seeing so many of the new Model Y now. Like, it is proliferated just everywhere here. Still seeing plenty of the Generation 1 Model Y, of course, because that was the number 1 selling car in the world the last couple of years. But the new one is no longer a rare sight. It is just every day, many of them a day out on the roads, at least in my neck of the woods. But, if we look ahead to next year, well, actually, let's finish up this year. So I think it's certainly unlikely for the Model Y to be the best-selling car in the world, not just Europe, but in the entire world, for the 3rd year in a row this year, on account of the production changeover and probably the extracurricular stuff a little bit too. But next year, I think the Model Y has a good chance because it will have a full year of full throttle production from January to December, including the Model Y L in China, which has been selling extremely well thus far. And I hope that the Model Y L ends up being sold globally as well. I tried to get Franz to give us something on that. It didn't seem like I was very successful on that one, but the Model Y L, which is selling great in China, that's going to factor into next year's sales and thus the chances of the Model Y being the number 1 selling car in the world again next year. And of course, the Model Y Standard is going to be available all of 2026 as well. The deliveries will begin here in Q4. They've already started just a little bit, but most of the deliveries are going to be happening towards the end of this 4th quarter and thus end of the year. So again, next year is looking like a really big one for the Model Y, even if this one was a bit down overall. So we'll see if it reclaims the top spot in the world next year, assuming that I'm correct and it's going to fall from the top spot this year. Real quick, before I dive into the shareholder letter and then the earnings call itself, I wanted to mention this week's Patreon Lightning Round mini episode, which I do exclusively every week for the very generous folks supporting me over on Patreon. This is a free podcast. It always has been, always will be. But if you'd like to support what I'm doing here, you like what I'm doing week in and week out, you can do so over on my Patreon page found at patreon.com/Tesla podcast, or just click the link in the episode description. This week's lightning round mini episode was about celebrity Tesla owners. Just had some fun with this one. There are actually quite a number of celebrity Tesla owners, so I ran through a bunch of them in that one. There are over 160 of those lightning round mini episodes. Almost all of them, 90-something% of them, are evergreen. They're not topical. So if you join the Patreon right now, you'll have a ton of extra content that you can dive into at your leisure. So again, head on over to the Patreon page to get all the information, patreon.com/Tesla podcast. The lightning round mini episodes that I'm talking about here, those are available at the $10 per month tier or higher. That's the most popular tier. But at the $5 tier, the base level tier, you still get early access to each week's episode and an ad-free version of each week's episode. You also get those things at the $10 tier. All the perks stack. So the higher you go, the more stuff and rewards that you get. So visit the Patreon page if you see it in your heart to do so. Time to dive into the shareholder letter. We start, as always, right here. And here is the opening summary from that shareholder letter. Tesla writing, in Q3, the Tesla team achieved record vehicle deliveries globally, showing strength and growth across all regions, while also achieving record energy storage deployments across the residential, industrial, and utility sectors. This strong performance resulted in both record revenue and free cash flow generation in the quarter. We continue to launch new products that excite our customers across automotive and energy. We launched the Model Y L and Model Y Performance and further expanded our vehicle offering with the Model 3 and Model Y Standard, our most affordable vehicles. We also unveiled the Megapack 3 and Megablock, which will further simplify large battery installations by reducing cost and time to deploy. We believe our scale and cost structure will enable us to navigate the shifting market dynamics across the globe more effectively than our peers, with advances in AI making our products the most compelling in the market. Our focus remains on scaling our core hardware business by maximizing our deliveries and deployments, as these products will deliver increasing value to our customers over time via services powered by AI. Every Tesla vehicle delivered today is designed for autonomy, while every Tesla energy storage product is capable of being enhanced and optimized by our virtual power plant or auto bidder functionality. We continue to deliver a fleet of products that brings AI into the real world as we pursue a future of sustainable abundance as outlined in our Master Plan Part 4. While we face near-term uncertainty from shifting trade, tariff, and fiscal policy, we are focused on long-term growth and value creation. We are prudently making the necessary investments in our business, including future business lines that we believe will drive incredible value for Tesla and the world across transport, energy, and robotics. And you know, all I really have to say about that opening statement is reading, "We launched the Model Y L," stung a little bit. It really did. Let's get that car here in North America. I know you've heard me say it before, so I don't want to linger on it, but I really believe that it would check a lot of the same boxes for families who want a Tesla minivan, because it's got a lot of those features and functions. So maybe sometime next year if we're lucky. Oh, and from the same page in the letter, by the way, Tesla's cash reserve, I always like to make the Scrooge McDuck silo of gold coins joke about this, but Tesla's cash reserve went up another $4.9 billion this quarter to $41.6 billion. Plenty for a rainy day, I would say. Moving along in the shareholder letter, total production is down 5% year over year, which is kind of a shame considering that a year ago, the Cybertruck first went into general production at the very beginning of Q3 2024. And as we all know, every other Tesla vehicle launch has moved the needle in the upward direction as it goes, the first year in production. So I think the question now becomes, at least for me, what's the future of the Cybertruck? I don't mean to pick on it specifically here, but the fact that their total production's down 5% year over year, I think a lot of that is attributable to the Cybertruck and the underperformance of that vehicle. Yes, the Model Y did change over. That's certainly a root cause as well. But with regard to the Cybertruck, I can't help but wonder, what is its future? Now, I'm not at all suggesting that Tesla would kill it, anything that drastic, but until they can significantly lower the price, I have to ask, are they happy with selling 20 to 25,000 units per year? And if you're thinking, wait, it's got to be more than that, that's kind of where it is right now. At least that's the estimated number, because I'll just segue real quick tangent, but it's related. So last week, while I had Franz on and I was the one making the Tesla news instead of reporting on it, there was a story that made its way around the EV community about EV pickup truck sales in the US for Q3. And while, yes, Cybertruck, I acknowledge, was sold in Canada and Mexico in Q3, those numbers are not likely to materially add to the numbers that I'm about to read to you. So, real quick, here are the Q3 EV pickup truck numbers. I saw these courtesy of our Tesla tipster friend Sawyer Merritt, who was reporting them from the source at Cox Automotive, which is a data company that I've mentioned here on the podcast plenty of times before. So the number one selling EV pickup truck in Q3 was the Ford F-150 Lightning at 10,005 units, is the, again, estimate from Cox Automotive. That number is up 39% year over year. That's pretty good. The Lightning has been on the market longer than Cybertruck. So the Lightning being up 39% year over year is pretty good. Then you have in second place the Cybertruck at 5,385 units. So almost half, just over half of the Lightning. And that number is down 62% year over year. In third, the Chevy Silverado EV at 3,940 units. That's up 97% year over year, but the Silverado's new, so I'm not going to put too much stock in that. I'm not trying to say anything disrespectful to Chevy or GM here, but that's the thing. The Silverado's new, so the year over year number is a little less material than it is with, say, the Cybertruck or the F-150 Lightning. Same thing with the GMC Sierra EV, which of course is a sibling, a cousin, or maybe however you want to, whatever family analogy you want to use, a sibling / cousin of the, hopefully not both, of the Silverado EV. So the Sierra EV was at 3,374 units, up 771%. So again, see, you can't really put a ton of stock in that. And then the Rivian, this number matters because the Rivian's been on the market longest of all of the EV pickup trucks. The Rivian R1T came in fifth place in the EV pickup truck category for Q3. In the US, specifically, just to remind, in the US, 2,378 units of the R1T. That is up 13% year over year. So as you can see, every other EV pickup besides the Cybertruck was up. And the Cybertruck wasn't just down, it was way down. And not just quarter over quarter, but again, that year over year number, which is honestly really surprising and unfortunately in quite an unpleasant, surprising kind of way. 5,385 units in Q3. If you just multiplied that by 4, which I know that's not how quarters work, Q4 tends to be the biggest and Q1 the smallest, but just for a rough sake of argument here, that is a pace of roughly 20 to 25,000 Cybertrucks per year. That is an order of magnitude less than what Elon Musk had originally said. When I first asked him, I was the first person to ask him, what do you foresee as the maximum annual production rate of the Cybertruck? That was back at, Battery Day 2020. I got to ask that question. And he said 250,000 units. So they are an order of magnitude off of that right now, which can't be anything but disappointing, which it's just too bad because it's, especially those of you that own it, or if you've at least driven it, but especially those of you that own it, you know that is it's such a great truck. It is just so unbelievably good. And to see the numbers down where they are is just a shame. And so that's what I mean when I wonder aloud if Tesla is okay with those numbers, or if they might have a strategy change in mind coming up to try and reverse that decline and get those numbers coming up in the northward direction. In better news, energy storage deployed, as mentioned in that opening statement from the shareholder letter, is up 81% year over year. That is bonkers in the best of ways. Supercharger connectors, meanwhile, continue to be up as well, this time 18% year over year. And just to put that into a little bit more of real world terms, Tesla is adding around 3,000 supercharger stalls per quarter. Not entire stations, but actual individual stalls. You know, each station's got anywhere from 8 to 80 stalls, depending on where it is, but they're adding about 3,000 of them every quarter. And in Q3, it was actually about 3,500 of them that they added. No changes this quarter at all in my beloved installed annual vehicle capacity chart. Everything is still the same way it was before. But we move now to what's going on the hardware side, sort of the region by region part of the shareholder letter. And in the US, which of course is California, Nevada, and Texas, they say in October, we launched the Model 3 and Model Y Standard, each with over 300 miles of range and starting at 37 and 40K respectively, making our products more accessible to customers in the wake of the expiration of the EV tax credit in the US. Even with their affordable starting price, these models come standard with what makes Tesla so appealing, including active safety features, a 15.4-inch center touchscreen, and heated first-row seats and steering wheel. We also launched the Model Y Performance, 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds, and began offering leasing for certified pre-owned Model 3s and Model Ys. Then in the APAC region, for Shanghai, they wrote, we launched the Model Y L in China, a longer wheelbase version of the Model Y with 6 seats and 3 rows, expanding our product portfolio in this critical market. We achieved record deliveries in South Korea, Taiwan, Japan, and Singapore, and began deliveries of the Model Y in India. South Korea is now our third largest market behind only the US and China, serving as validation of our competitive positioning in a robust EV market. We launched FSD Supervised in Australia and New Zealand and continue to prepare for a broader launch in China, pending regulatory approval. Then for Europe and the Middle East, they write, Model Y is the best-selling vehicle in Norway, Switzerland, and Iceland year-to-date, in Finland for Q3, and in the Netherlands and Denmark in September. At Gigafactory Berlin, we produced the 100,000th refreshed Model Y and started production of the Model Y Performance. We continue to pursue the launch of FSD Supervised in Europe, pending regulatory approval. So the reason, the thing that jumped out at me there was the fun new bit of Tesla trivia that if you had posed this question to me, I absolutely do not think I would have gotten it right, even if you gave me 3 or 4 guesses. So Tesla's third largest market is now South Korea. Again, I would definitely not have guessed that. That's super interesting. Then in the battery, powertrain, and manufacturing section, Tesla writes, both Model 3 and Model Y Standard feature a new battery pack and powertrain designed for energy and cost efficiency, offering compelling range, 321 miles, at an attractive price point. We continue to localize and de-risk our battery and powertrain supply chains across regions, including progress on raw material, intermediate, and final assembly processes in the US and Europe for both the LFP and nickel supply chains. We expect our lithium refinery in Texas to begin production in Q4 of 2025, and our LFP lines in Nevada to begin production in Q1 of 2026. So, on this one, it's that last bit there that piqued my interest. LFP lines in Nevada in Q1 of 2026. So does that mean that those batteries are for the Tesla Semi, since that's where the Semi is being built there at the Semi factory right at Giga Nevada? Or are those LFP cells for the Cybercab? Or perhaps both? Perhaps neither? I mean, if I recall correctly, LFP batteries have a lower energy density and a lower C rate, so I think they probably wouldn't make sense for the Tesla Semi, where in that vehicle, they need to cram as much energy into the space that they have as possible in order to maximize range on the Tesla Semi. But I think the LFP would make a ton of sense for the Cybercab, where you'd want to charge it to 100% all the time, and the charge rate probably wouldn't matter as much because it'd typically charge overnight or when its quote-unquote shift is over. And then finally, before we get to the earnings call, at the end of the letter in the Outlook section, here's the product outlook, which I always look forward to reading, and it reads, "We continue to evolve and augment our product lineup with a focus on cost, scale, and future monetization opportunities via services powered by our AI software. We remain focused on growing our sales volumes through a differentiated and efficiently managed product portfolio, which includes leveraging and optimizing our existing production capacity before building new factories and production lines. Cybercab, Tesla Semi, and Megapack 3 are on schedule for volume production starting in 2026. First-generation product production lines for Optimus are being installed in anticipation of volume production." So, where does this leave us? In my opinion, plenty to be optimistic about with Tesla for sure. I mean, in terms of vehicle launches, Tesla hit it more generally there, but you've got the Semi is already technically launched, so I don't even necessarily have to count that one. But in 2026, we will see the launch of the Cybercab. 2027, based on what Franz told me in the interview last week, is hopefully going to see the next-gen Roadster finally start delivering, although there won't be volume production of that. It's going to be low volume. Then as for 2028, as we look a little more long-term with Tesla, well, if there aren't any new other vehicles, there aren't. That's the thing. It's not an if. There aren't any other new vehicles currently on the public roadmap. Unless, maybe if Tesla's serious about actually putting the Robovan or the Robovan, depending on how you want to say it. I guess the official Tesla pronunciation is Robovan. But if they're actually serious about putting that into production, then maybe that could be in 2028. Now, if I do allow myself to finish this thought exercise, presumably 2028 might be when the next Model 3 refresh happens as well. It'll be 4 years since the Gen 2 version, so 4 or 5 years is about what it's probably going to be from one refresh to the next. So we'll see. But anyway, still plenty to be optimistic about, like I mentioned, even if I do very much wish that the vehicle roadmap had more cars on it. Before I get to the earnings call, first a quick word. Climate Exchange, the raffle. Yes, the raffle for charity is back. As many of you know, Ride the Lightning, me, this podcast recently celebrated the 10th anniversary, and Climate Exchange is celebrating the same milestone, and they have recently launched their 10th annual EV raffle. You may remember that you all helped raise money for a great cause with them in each of the past couple years. And this year, they are doubling your chances to win a fully customized EV. So if you're looking for a top-of-the-line vehicle, I'm talking Model X Plaid, Model S Plaid, Cyber Beast, Rivian R1S Quad Motor Max Pack, their luxury raffles grand prize is offering you any EV on the market up to $120,000. Or if you're not interested in a luxury car, but you still want to go electric, they're also hosting a more affordable mini raffle where the prize is an EV up to $45,000, which can still get you a Model 3 or a Model Y. So that's 2 raffles, each giving you the chance to win a great new EV while helping out a great cause. And because they believe winning a prize should come with no strings attached, they pay all taxes on the EVs that they give away. So why buy your tickets now instead of waiting until closer to the raffle drawing? Well, here's a good reason. Any tickets in their luxury raffle purchased by October 30th will be automatically entered into their bonus early bird drawing for $10,000 cash. A quick note that due to state regulations, raffle tickets are not available for purchase while located in, and that's the key word there, key phrase, Alabama, Arkansas, California, Hawaii, New York, Utah, and Washington. But if you happen to live in those states but be elsewhere at the time of purchase, that apparently will work. Enter today at carbonraffle.org/RTL. That's carbonraffle.org. The Climate Exchange Raffle, the 10th anniversary, 2 chances to win. Also, my friends at XCare, a quick word from them. Your EV warranty's expiring? Well, what's next? Dead battery? Flat tire? Roadside surprise? Hopefully none of those things, but when your factory coverage ends, the high risk begins. That's where XCare EV protection comes in. I'm a customer myself. I just renewed. I just bought my 2nd policy with them. They are the #1 rated EV warranty. Yes, even according to ChatGPT and Grok, they rank it as the best one. XCare covers what others don't, from EV battery and drive unit repairs to towing, rental coverage, and 24/7 roadside help. Because when your EV stops, XCare doesn't. Check your vehicle's eligibility today at xcare.com or talk to a real person right now at 844-755-4186. That's xcare.com, xcare.com, or call 844-755-4186 and drive with confidence. Time for your main course on this week's episode. That is the earnings call recap, highlights, and analysis. We start, as always, with CEO Elon Musk's opening statement. It is 8 minutes and 5 seconds long. Take a listen.
We're at a critical inflection point for Tesla and our strategy going forward as we bring AI into the real world. I think it's important to emphasize that Tesla really is the leader in real-world AI. No one can do what we can do with real-world AI. I have pretty good insight into AI in general. I think that Tesla has the highest intelligence density of any AI out there in the car, and that is only going to get better. And we're really just at the beginning of scaling at a quite massively full self-driving and robotaxi, and fundamentally changing the nature of transport. I think people just don't quite appreciate the degree to which this will take off. Where it's honestly it's going to be like a shockwave. So it's because the cars are all out there. We have millions of cars out there that, with a software update, become full self-driving cars, and we're making a couple million a year, and in fact, with the advent of with what we see now as a clarity on achieving full self-driving, unsupervised full self-driving, I should say, I feel confident in expanding Tesla's production. So that is our intent, to expand as quickly as we can our future production. So I was reticent to do that until we had clarity on achieving unsupervised full self-driving. But at this point, I feel like we've got clarity, and it makes sense to expand production as fast as we reasonably can. We're also making huge making a huge impact on the energy sector with battery storage. So with both the Powerwall and especially with the Megapack, we are dramatically improving the ability to generate more energy from the grid. So let me sort of talk a little bit about that, which is if you look at total U.S. energy capability, for example, there's roughly a terawatt of continuous power available in the U.S., but the average usage over a 24-hour cycle is only half a terawatt because of the big difference between day and night usage. If you buffer the energy with batteries, you can effectively double the energy output of the United States just with batteries building no incremental power plants. And it's very difficult to build power plants. So they take a long time. There's a lot of permitting, and it's not an industry that's used to moving fast. So we see the potential there for Tesla battery packs to greatly improve the energy output per year for any given grid, US or otherwise. We're also on the cusp of something really tremendous with Optimus, which I think is likely to be, or has potential to be, the biggest product of all time. And it's a difficult project, and it's worth noting that it's not like it's just automatic. I'm unaware of any robot program by Ford or GM or any of our U.S. sort of car companies. People I think maybe think of Tesla as a car company. We mostly make cars and battery packs, but so it's not just like an obvious fall off a log thing to make Optimus, but we do have the ingredients of real world AI and exceptional electrical and mechanical engineering capabilities and the ability to scale production, which I don't think anyone else has all of those ingredients. With version 14 of the of self-driving, which you can see the reactions of people online. They're quite amazed. Actually, anyone in the US can get version 14 if they just go and select, I want the advanced software in their car. So if you're listening right now and you'd like to try it out, just go in settings and say, I want the advanced software, and you will get version 14. So on the Megapack front, we unveiled Megablock, Megapack 3. We also have exciting plans for Megapack 4. Megapack 4 will incorporate a lot of what is normally in a substation and be able to output at probably 35 kilovolts directly. So this greatly improves our ability to deploy Megapack because it's not dependent on building a substation up through 35 kV for Megapack 4. So that'll be that's the engineering priority for Megapack, and we look forward to unveiling Optimus V3. Probably in Q1. I think it'll be ready for to show off, and that I think is going to be quite remarkable. It won't even seem like a robot. It'll seem like a person in a robot suit, which is kind of how we started off with Optimus. But it'll seem so real that you'll need to poke it, I think, to believe that it's actually a robot. And obviously, the real world intelligence we've developed for the car, most of that transfers to Optimus. So it's a very good starting point. In conclusion, we're excited about the updated mission of Tesla, which is sustainable abundance. So going beyond sustainable energy to say sustainable abundance is the mission, where we believe with Optimus and self-driving that you can actually create a world where there is no poverty, where everyone has access to the finest medical care. Optimus will be an incredible surgeon, for example. And imagine if everyone had access to an incredible surgeon. So I think there's, of course, we make sure Optimus is safe and everything, but I do think we're headed for a world of sustainable abundance, and I'm excited to work with the Tesla team to make that happen.
Elon addresses this later in the earnings call, and I will play you that clip. But when he said that he thinks it's time to expand production as quickly as they reasonably can, my first thought was, yes, that's what I'm talking about. But then my second thought was, wait, is there demand for that, particularly in the post-tax credit era? And I'm not trying to throw shade here. It is a genuine question. The S, X, and Cybertruck are not selling super well. I mean, we just got numbers to confirm that. And as I mentioned at the top of the podcast, Tesla is raising leasing prices. So, that's pulling a lever in one direction or another. That does affect things. Now, certainly, if you're thinking, well, if you're just yelling at your speaker right now, the Cybercab. Yes, the Cybercab will certainly be part of this production level increase. But I also have to fairly wonder where the rest of the extra demand to crank up production is going to come from, unless Tesla sees the order numbers so far on the Standard 3 and the Standard Y, and they are incredible. So maybe that's the case. The energy side of the business, meanwhile, continues to just crush, as I went over before. Just Tesla seems to be miles ahead of their competitors there. And they simply have a great product, well, products plural, that make a lot of sense for grid scale uses. So I am glad to see that the energy numbers continue to be awesome. I was also struck in his opening statement there by his comment about being able to get FSD version 14 by just going into your car and setting your preference to advanced in the software menu. Well, unless Tesla is going to be changing the behavior of that soon, meaning they haven't already done this by the time you hear this episode, that doesn't work. I've tried it each of the last 3 days since this was said, and it doesn't work. So I wish it did. I wish it did. I mean, my car has been set to advanced since forever, and I know many of you have had your cars set to advanced for a while too. And for the moment, that doesn't seem to be getting anybody the version 14 download any sooner. My final comment on Elon's opening remarks there. I love the idea of Optimus ushering in a world with no poverty and great medical care for everyone, but that sounds about as realistic as the cars becoming appreciating assets when FSD unsupervised rolls out. I mean, it's a little much. So all in all, I would say, and again, plenty more clips to play you here, this wasn't the most newsworthy opening statement from Elon on an earnings call, but nevertheless, an interesting one. It's always nice to hear from him. And he did keep it to a reasonable time this time as well. He'd been making these longer and longer, and this one was only 8 minutes. So for the next clip here, I'm going to skip the 6-minute opening statement from Tesla's CFO, except to note that he did say that the FSD take rate, meaning people who have purchased it, is currently, at least I think it was just purchases and not also including monthly subscriptions, that take rate's currently sitting at 12%. So still a lot of room to grow right there. As such, I would not expect the price on FSD to go up for quite some time, nor, in my humble opinion, should it. So there we go. Let's move on now to the most upvoted retail shareholder questions, starting with one about the latest metrics on the robotaxi service.
I'll start off with that, and then Ashok can elaborate. But we are expecting to have no safety drivers in at least large parts of Austin by the end of this year. So within a few months, we expect to have no safety drivers at all, at least in parts of Austin. We're obviously being very cautious about the deployment. So our goal is to be actually paranoid about deployment, because obviously even one accident will be front page headline news worldwide. So it's better for us to take a cautious approach here. But we do expect to have no safety drivers in the car in Austin within a few months. I think that's perhaps the most important data point. And then we do expect to be operating robotaxi in I think about 8 to 10 metro areas by the end of the year. It depends on various regulatory approvals. But you can actually, I think most of our regulatory applications are online. You can kind of see them because they're public information. But we expect to be operating in Nevada and Florida and Arizona by the end of the year. Ashok?
We continue to operate our fleet in Austin without anyone in the driver's seat, and we have covered more than 250,000 miles with that. And then in the Bay Area, where we still have a person in the driver's seat because of the regulations, we crossed more than 1 million miles. And we continue to see that the fleet, robotaxi fleet, works really well. Customers are really happy, and there's no notable issues. On the customer side, customers have used FSD Supervise for a total of 6 billion miles as of yesterday. So that's like a big milestone. And overall, the safety continues to be very good. And as Elon mentioned, we are on track to remove the person from inside the car altogether, starting with Austin.
Well, Elon is absolutely right that even a single accident will absolutely be front page headline news everywhere, globally. Now, has Waymo had incidents? Yeah. Do they get covered in the media? Sometimes. But if and when, and let's be honest, it's when, because it's just math. It's inevitable someday. So when Tesla has some kind of autonomous accident with a robotaxi, it is going to be blasted across every headline, in every blog and media outlet on Earth, unfortunately. But it'll be exciting once the safety monitor does come out of the car in Austin. That, I'll tell you, that is truly going to be a big moment in Tesla's history. Like, you do the thing that I like to do of zooming out to that 10,000 foot view. That will be a big, big moment in Tesla's history because they've been working towards that for about a decade now. I mean, even if you can argue that the cars are already doing all of the driving without any interventions from the safety monitors now, which is true, still, going totally driverless when you can actually be in the car by yourself, not in the driver's seat, that is going to be a really cool milestone in Tesla's history. All right, our next clip is about solar panels from the energy side of the business.
Thanks. Demand for Megapack and Powerwall continues to be really strong into next year. We received very strong positive customer feedback on our Megablock product, which will begin shipping next year out of Houston. And we're seeing remarkable growth in the demand for AI and data center applications as hyperscalers and utilities have seen the versatility of the Megapack product to increase reliability and relieve grid constraints, as Elon was talking about. We've also seen a surge in residential solar demand in the U.S. due to policy changes, which we expect to continue into the first half of 2026 as we introduced a new solar lease product. And we also began production of our Tesla residential solar panel in our Buffalo factory, and we will be shipping that to customers starting Q1 The panel has industry-leading aesthetics and shade performance and demonstrates our continued commitment to U.S. manufacturing.
The reason that I wanted to play you that clip was that very last part, the new consumer solar panel. That is awesome. I feel like we almost never hear about the residential solar business at Tesla anymore, so this is just nice to hear about. I'll be curious what this panel looks like and how much juice that it can produce. Next up, here is a long answer from Elon about what the challenges are in bringing Optimus to market. Take a listen to this.
Yeah, I mean, bringing Optimus to market is an incredibly difficult task. To be clear, it's not like some walk in the park. At some point, I mean, actually, technically, Optimus can walk in the park right now. We do have Optimus robots that walk around our offices at our engineering headquarters in Palo Alto, California, basically 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So any visitors that come by, you actually you can stop one of the Optimus robots and ask it to take you somewhere, and it'll literally take you to that meeting room or that location in the building. So I don't want to downplay the difficulty of Optimus. It's an incredibly difficult thing, especially it's difficult to create a hand that is as dexterous and capable as the human hand, which is the human hand is an incredible thing. That the more you study the human hand, the more incredible you realize the human hand is, and why you need 4 fingers and a thumb, why the fingers have certain degrees of freedom, why the various muscles are of different strengths, the fingers are of different lengths, and it turns out actually that those are all there for a reason, and so making it the hand and forearm, because most of the actuator, just like the human hand, the muscles that control your hand are actually primarily in your forearm. The Optimus hand and forearm is an incredibly difficult engineering challenge. I'd say it's more difficult than the rest from an electromechanical standpoint. The forearm and hand is more difficult than the entire rest of the robot. But really, in order to have a useful generalized robot, you do need this. You do need an incredible hand, and then you need the real world AI, and you need to be able to scale up that production to have it be relevant, because it's not relevant if it's just a few hundred robots. But so you need to be able to make Optimus robots at volumes comparable to vehicles, if not significantly higher. So if you're trying to make 1 million or something per year, trying to make 1 million Optimus robots per year, that manufacturing challenge is immense, considering that the supply chain doesn't exist. So with cars, you've got an existing supply chain. With computers, you've got an existing supply chain. With a humanoid robot, there is no supply chain. So in order to manufacture that, Tesla actually has to be very vertically integrated and manufacture very deep into the supply chain, manufacture the parts internally, because there just is no supply chain. So this is the kind of thing where I'm like, if I put myself in the position of a startup trying to make a humanoid robot, I'm like, I don't know how to do it without an immense amount of manufacturing technology. So that's why I think like Tesla's in almost a unique, I think unique position when you consider manufacturing technology scaling, real world AI, and a truly dexterous hand. Those are generally the things that are missing when you read about other robots, that they just don't have those 3 things. So I think we can achieve all those things, those 3 things, with an immense amount of work, and that is the game plan. So my fundamental concern with regard to how much voting control I have in Tesla is, if I go ahead and build this enormous robot army, can I just be ousted at some point in the future? That's my biggest concern. If I that is really the only thing I'm trying to address with this. So it's called compensation, but it's not like I'm going to go spend the money. It's just, if we build this robot army, do I have at least a strong influence over that robot army? Not control, but a strong influence. That's what it comes down to in a nutshell. Like, I don't feel comfortable building that robot army if I don't have at least a strong influence.
Well, he's absolutely right. The Tesla is uniquely positioned to do a humanoid robot. I imagine that his repeated use of the phrase robot army might freak some people out, though, and that he wants substantial influence over that robot army. Hopefully, we're not about to turn Elon into an actual Marvel Comics supervillain, but anyway, yes, we will see how all of that shakes out very soon. In fact, on a related note from that clip you just heard, this week's Patreon poll, which is free for anybody to vote in, you don't have to be giving me a dime on Patreon. This week's Patreon poll was about the big upcoming shareholder vote on Elon Musk's proposed pay package. I asked you simply, do you think Elon Musk's compensation package will be approved by shareholders? So regardless of how you're voting, I just asked, do you think it will pass? Do you think it will be approved? And it was quite overwhelming. 85% of the 325 votes said yes, that do you think it will pass? And for what it's worth, I agree. I think it's going to cruise easily. In fact, to the point where I'm honestly a little bit surprised at how much of a full court press Tesla's been putting on. They've been doing ads on X, ads on Google. They've been sending out emails. Like they've been really hitting this pretty hard, trying to get shareholders to vote. And I don't know. I think it's probably going to pass easily. But either they don't feel that way, or maybe more likely is they just want to be sure. Like if there's, if they think there's so much on the line of retaining Elon potentially versus potentially not retaining Elon, they just decided to go all out with it. But anyway, I'm in agreement with all of you. I think it's going to cruise to a vote regardless of how any individual one of us votes. So the next clip, another pretty long one, fair warning, 6.5 minutes from Elon here. This is him speaking to the AI5 and AI6 chips that are in development with Samsung. Take a listen to this one.
Okay, so I'm gonna give quite a long answer to this question because I have to unpack this question and then answer the unpacked version. So first of all, I have nothing but great things to say about Samsung. They're an amazing company, and Samsung, it is worth noting, does manufacture our AI4 computer and does a great job doing that. Now with the AI5, and here's I need to make a point of clarification relative to some comments I've made publicly before, which is we're actually going to focus both TSMC and Samsung initially on AI5. So the AI5 chip design by Tesla is, I think it's an amazing design. I've spent almost every weekend for last few months with the chip design team working on AI5, and I don't hand out praise easily, but I have to say that I think the Tesla chip team is really designing an incredible chip here. This is, by some metrics, the AI5 chip will be 40 times better than the AI4 chip. Not 40%, 40 times. Because we have a detailed understanding of the entire software and hardware stack. So we're designing the hardware to address all of the pain points in software. I don't think there really isn't anyone that's doing this, the entire stack, all the way through real world, calibrating against the real world where you've got cars and robots in the real world. That Like we know what the chip needs to do, and we know what, just as importantly, we know what the chip doesn't need to do. To sort of give you some examples here, with the AI5, we deleted the legacy GPU or the traditional GPU, which is it's in AI4, but AI5 does not have. We just deleted the legacy GPU because it basically is a GPU. So we also deleted the image signal processor, and there's like a long list of deletions that are very important. As a result of these deletions, we can actually fit AI5 in a half reticle, and with good margin for the traces from the memory to the trip, the Tesla trip accelerators, the ARM CPU cores, and the PCI X the PCI blocks. So this is a beautiful chip. I've poured so much life energy into this chip personally, and I'm confident this is going to be a winner, next level. So it makes sense to have both Samsung and TSMC focus on AI5, and so even like technically the Samsung fab has slightly more advanced equipment than the TSMC fab. These will both be made in the U.S. In one TSMC in Arizona, Samsung in Texas, but it's we're going to make, starting off, just to be confident of having our goal, explicit goal, is to have an oversupply of AI5 chips. Because if we have too many AI5 chips for the cars and robots, we can always put them in the data center. So we already use AI4 for training in our data center. So we use a combination of AI4 and NVIDIA hardware. We're not about to replace NVIDIA, to be clear, but we do use both in combination, AI4 and NVIDIA hardware. And the AI5 excess production we can always put in our data centers. NVIDIA keeps improving. The challenge that they have is that they've got to satisfy a large range, a lot of requirements from a lot of customers. But Tesla only has to satisfy requirements from one customer. That's Tesla. That makes the design job radically easier, and means we can delete a lot of complexity from the chip. I can't emphasize how important this is. So, like when you look at the various logic blocks in the chip, as you increase the number of logic blocks, you also increase the interconnections between the logic blocks. So you can think of it like just highways. Like, how many highways do you need to connect the various parts of the chip? And especially if you're not sure how much data is going to go between each logic block on the chip, then you kind of end up having giant highways going all over the place. It becomes an almost impossibly difficult design problem, and NVIDIA's done an amazing job of dealing with almost an impossibly difficult set of requirements. But in our case, we're going for radical simplicity, and the net effect is that I think AI5 will be the best performance per watt, maybe by a factor of 2 or 3, and the best performance per dollar for AI, maybe by a factor of 10. So, that's, we'll have to, the proof's in the pudding. So obviously we need to actually get this chip made, and made at scale. But that's what it looks like.
I admit that I don't quite know enough about chip design to fully grasp everything that he just said there, but I know that I'm not surprised that Tesla found a way to delete things. It is their way. It is the Tesla way, is to delete stuff. Though I do know, I think, enough about chips to know that deleting things off of them means that you can pack more onto one silicon wafer, which increases your yield, which means your cost per chip goes down, and thus, hopefully, helps keep the cost of each car down. Well, definitely the cost to Tesla. And if we're lucky, it helps keep the cars more reasonably priced for us as customers at the end of the line. Next up, here is Tesla's CFO and a member of the AI team throwing a bit of a lifeline to my fellow Hardware 3 owners. Take a listen to this.
Yeah, we've not completely given up on Hardware 3. However, over the last year, we've offered the customers the option to transfer FSD to their new vehicle, which at times we've been running some promotions. If they got FSD, they can get better preferential rates. So we've been definitely taking care of this, but we do want to solve autonomy first, and then we'll come back with a way to take care of these customers. These customers are very important. They were the early adapters. For what it's worth, my daily commuter is a Hardware 3 car, which I use FSD on a daily basis. So we will definitely take care of you guys.
Great. Thank you.
In addition, once the V14's release series is fully done, we are planning on working on a V14 Lite version for Hardware 3, probably expected in Q2 next year.
I can't help but think of the Monty Python movie. You've got Hardware 3 saying, "I'm not dead yet." I'm glad that there will be at least one more presumably notable upgrade on the FSD side for Hardware 3 owners, though it sounds like we won't get it for at least 6 to 9 months. It's going to be a minute. I sure hope that Hardware 3 owners in Australia and New Zealand get version 12.6 first in the very near future and don't have to wait for this V14 Lite all the way until next spring. I don't think that'll be the case. I think that they are going to get 12.6 since, I'd already shared that report with you a couple of episodes ago about Tesla working on V12 for Hardware 3 owners in Australia. Otherwise, we heard the same thing there that we heard last quarter, that Tesla will upgrade those of us with Hardware 3 cars who've paid for FSD once Tesla has successfully delivered full self-driving unsupervised, and then figures out exactly what our older cars need in order to also be capable of full self-driving unsupervised. But it is really nice to hear Tesla acknowledge that, hey, we're early adopters, we deserve to be taken care of, because it's true. We are and we do. Next up, here is an admittedly small update from friend of the podcast and engineering VP Lars Moravy on the Tesla Semi's progress, as well as FSD for the Tesla Semi.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with that in terms of the Semi production plan and schedule. So the factory is going on schedule. We've completed the building and are installing the equipment now. We've got our fleet of validation trucks driving on the road. We'll have larger builds towards the end of this year, and then our first online builds in the first part of next year. Ramping into the Q2 timing with real volume coming in the back half of the year. So that's going quite well, and that's the first step to obviously getting autonomous trucks on the road. In terms of trains, they're really great for long point-to-point deliveries. They're super efficient, but that last mile, the load unload, can be better served for shorter distances with autonomous semis, and that would be great. And so we do expect that to probably shift in as we, really, as Elon said, change the way transportation is considered. And so we're looking forward to that timeline. And Ashok, I know you can take the full self-driving part.
Currently, the team is super focused on solving for passenger vehicle autonomy. That said, the same technology will extend quite easily to the semi-truck once we have a little bit of data from the semi-trucks.
Boy, just picture it in your head for a moment. FSD for the Tesla Semi. That is going to be something really awesome to behold, isn't it? I mean, in fairness, it sounds like it's not even really being worked on yet from that comment at the end by the person on the AI team, which, okay, honestly makes sense. That's not a criticism. I can't blame them there. They are currently in a huge push with the cars, and they are on the cusp of pulling off unsupervised with the robotaxis, and then after that, unsupervised in our personal cars. The Semi can wait, especially considering that A, it's not what Tesla Semi buyers are purchasing them for, first and foremost. I mean, sure, it'll be a big selling point down the road on the Tesla Semi, but for now, the first thing that people buying Tesla Semis are looking for is that total cost of ownership. And then B, there are a total of, maybe a couple hundred semis on the roads right now, maybe less than that. So again, it's going to be awesome to see that someday, see a fully autonomous Tesla semi-truck. But for now, it's definitely, I can understand that it's not the priority. Anyway, let's move now to the analyst questions. Remember earlier when I said that we would come back to the point about Tesla increasing production capacity? Well, is that number going to be 3 million? Here's Elon's answer to that.
Well, our capacity isn't quite 3 million, but it will be 3 million at some point. Aspirationally, it could be 3 million within. We could probably hit an annualized rate of 3 million within 24 months. I think, maybe less than 24 months. Bearing in mind, there's an entire supply chain, a vast supply chain that's got to also move in tandem with that. But we're gonna expand production as fast as we can, and as fast as our suppliers can sort of keep up with it. And then we're going to think about where do we build incremental factories beyond that. The single biggest expansion in production will be the Cybercab, which starts production in Q2 next year. That's really a vehicle that's optimized for full autonomy. It, in fact, does not have a steering wheel or pedals, and is really an engineering optimization on minimizing cost per mile, for fully considered cost per mile of operation. So that's for our other vehicles, they still have a little bit of the horseless carriage thing going on, where obviously if you've got steering wheels and pedals and you're designing a car that people might want to go, fast acceleration and tight cornering, like high performance cars, then you're going to design a different car than one that is optimized for a comfortable ride, but doesn't expect to go past sort of 85 or 90 miles an hour, and it's just aiming for a gentle ride the whole time. That's what Cybercab is. So it's. Do I think we'll sacrifice margins? I don't think so. I think the demand will be pretty nutty. Here's the killer app. Really, what it comes down to is, can you text it? Can you text while you're in the car? And if you tell someone, yes, the car is now so good, you can be on your phone and text the entire time while you're in the car. It's anyone who can buy the car will buy the car. And a story. That's what everybody wants to do. In fact, not everyone wants to do it. They do that. And that's why, in fact, the reason you've seen there's been an uptick in accidents pretty much worldwide is because people are texting and driving. Autopilot actually dramatically improves the safety here, because if somebody's looking down at their phone, they're not driving very well. So that's really the game changer. We do see, at this point, I feel, essentially 100% confident. I say not essentially, 100% confident that we can solve unsupervised full self-driving at a safety level much greater than human. So we've released 14.1. We've got a technology roadmap that's, I think, pretty amazing. We'll be adding reasoning to the car. Our world simulator for reinforcement learning is pretty incredible. When you see the Tesla reality simulator, you can't tell the difference between the video that's generated by the Tesla reality simulator and the actual video. It looks exactly the same. So that allows us to have a very powerful reinforcement learning loop to further improve the Tesla AI. We're going to be increasing the parameter count by an order of magnitude. That's not in 14.1. There are also a number of other improvements to the AI, just that are quite radical. So it's this car will feel like it is a living creature. That's how good the AI will get with the AI4 computer. This is before AI5, and then AI5, like I said, is by some metrics 40 times better. Let's just say safely, it's a 10x improvement. So it might almost be too much intelligence for a car. I do wonder, like, how much intelligence should you have in a car? It might get bored. Actually. And then one of the things I thought, like, well, if we got all these cars that maybe are bored, well, while they're sort of, if they are bored, we could actually have a giant distributed inference fleet, and say, like, well, if they're not actively driving, let's just have a giant distributed inference fleet. At some point, if you've got like tens of millions of cars in the fleet, or maybe at some point 100 million cars in the fleet, and let's say they had at that point, I don't know, a kilowatt of inference capability of, high performance inference capability. That's 100 gigawatts of inference distributed with power and cooling with cooling and power conversion taken care of. So that seems like a pretty significant asset.
First of all here, is it news that Cybercab production will be starting in Q2? Forgive me if that's been stated somewhere before, but I believe that's the first time we've heard that. Now, as for demand being pretty nutty, quote unquote, for the Cybercab, I have to very politely wonder exactly where 1 million of them per year are going to come from. That's basically Model Y. That's almost Model Y production numbers for Cybercab, because I'm just not sure that a 2-passenger driverless car is going to be hugely appealing to a lot of people, at least at first. Now, are fleet companies going to buy them? Well, maybe that's where 1 million orders per year are going to come from. Large quantities of orders from fleet customers. So we'll see on that. And then the bit near the end there about the AI5 cars getting bored. Come on again. Like, we're getting a little silly again. Let's bring it back to real life. Let's bring it on back. Up next now, still several more clips to play for you. Up next was a good question about whether the safety monitor in the robotaxis is a regulatory requirement or Tesla's choice, or as it turns out, perhaps both.
Well, I think even if the regulators weren't making us do it, we'd still do that as the sort of right sort of cautious approach to a new market. So just to make sure that we're being paranoid about safety, I think it makes sense to have a sort of either safety driver or safety occupant in the car when we first go to new markets, to confirm that there's not something we're missing. Because all it takes is like 1 in 10,000 trips to go wrong, and you've got an issue. So it's just to make sure, like, is there some peculiarity about a city, like a very difficult intersection, or I don't know, something that's an unexpected challenge in a city for that 1 in 10,000 situation. I think we probably could just let it loose in these cities, but we don't want to take a chance. And like, what we're talking about here is maybe 3 months of safety driver in a new metro to confirm that it's good, and then we take the safety driver out, that kind of thing.
As a specific micro example, I'm really curious if the robotaxis are reading and correctly interpreting no right on red signs. And I bring that up because I know that version 14 still isn't doing that. Some of the influencers that got it early have posted evidence of that, and it's something that I've run into on version 13. But anyway, I do completely agree with the approach, no matter whose decision it is, to have a safety monitor, because you just can't mess around with cars, right? I mean, Tesla might be the safest car out there, but we're still talking about 4,000-pound objects moving at speed. So the old phrase, better safe than sorry, is the right call for sure, even though I do very much look forward to the day when I can take a robotaxi somewhere, as I was talking about a few minutes ago, in which I am the sole occupant of the vehicle and there's nobody in the driver's seat. Sounds like we'll have that maybe in the spring of next year if Austin ends up meaning here in the San Francisco Bay Area, pardon me, if Austin removes them at about the end of the year. All right, I've got just 2 more clips for you. The penultimate clip here is the answer to a question about how version 14 has a different feel. Like literally the question is, how does it feel different?
Now, the first priority when we release a major new software architecture for Autopilot is safety. So it starts off with safety, obviously safety prioritized, and then we solve comfort thereafter, which is why I don't recommend people take the initial version. Like that's why I say most people should wait until 14.2 before they actually download version 14, because by 14.2 we'll have addressed many of the comfort issues. The priority is very much safety first, and then thereafter the comfort issues. That's why most people, I'm like, it'll be a little it'll be safe but jerky, we just need time to kind of smooth the rough edges, and solve for comfort in addition to safety with a major new Autopilot architecture change. But it really is. I mean, I know what the roadmap is for the Tesla real world AI, and at very granular detail. Obviously, Ashok is leading that, and I spent a lot of time with the team, going, in excruciating detail here on what we're doing to improve the real world AI. Like I said, this car is going to feel like it is a living creature, and that's with AI 4 before even AI 5.
Yeah, the roadmap is super exhilarating. Waiting so much, release all the stuff we are working on. In terms of what we ship to customers versus robotaxi, it's mostly the same. Obviously, customers have some more features they can choose the car wants to park in a spot or in a driveway or something like that, which is not super relevant for robotaxi. But there's only a few minor changes like those ones. But the majority of the algorithms and the architecture, everything is the same between those 2 platforms.
Yeah, but and as I mentioned earlier, we'll be adding reasoning to I don't know, Ashok, is that reasoning in 14.3, maybe 14.4, something like that?
Yeah, 3 or 4 by end of this year for sure.
Yeah. So with reasoning, it's literally going to think about which parking spot to pick so it's going to say this is the entrance, but actually probably there's not a parking spot right at the entrance. If it's a full, if the parking lot is fairly full, the probability of an open parking spot right at the entrance is very low. But actually, what it'll simply do is drop you off at the entrance of the store and then go find a parking spot. But it's going to get very smart about figuring out a parking spot. It's going to spot empty spots much better than a human. It's got 360-degree vision, and it's going to, like I said, just it's going to use reasoning to solve things.
And fitting that all inside the computer that has AI4 is the actual challenge. That's what the team is working on. Because obviously you can do reasoning on the server that takes forever, but then in the car you need to make real-time decisions. So fitting all that into the computer that's in the car, that's the challenge.
Yeah, that's why I say I have a pretty good understanding of AI, the sort of the giant model level with Grok and with Tesla, and I'm confident in saying that Tesla has the Tesla AI has the highest intelligence density. When you look at the intelligence per gigabyte, I think like Tesla AI is probably an order of magnitude better than anyone else. And it doesn't have any choice because that AI has got to fit in the AI4 computer. But the discipline of having that level of AI intelligence density will pay great dividends when you go to something that has an order of magnitude more capability, like AI5. Now you have that same intelligence density, but you've got 10 times more capability in the computer.
If I may, can I make a humble request to the AI team as somebody who cares more than is probably healthy about his cars? So just like there's a hurry mode and a Mad Max setting for FSD, may I please get a picky car guy setting in which my FSD, after it drops me off in front of whatever store I'm going to, goes to the very back of the parking lot and looks for a corner spot away from every other car. Now, you might think I'm joking around right now. I am serious. That is, I don't want my car going and parking itself directly between two giant SUVs or something like that. Like, I genuinely want it to go far away from any other car and just go hide, basically. Just minimize the risk of door dings. Just go far away, and then I'll call you when I'm ready for you. So I am being 100% serious with that request. We'll see how quickly versions 14.3 and 14.4 arrive. They were mentioned there. I mean, 14.1 went out a little wider this week. As of this recording on late Friday night, I have not yet personally received it. And then 14.2 is supposed to be the one that goes out to all FSD owners / subscribers. All right, I've got just one more clip for you. It is about Optimus with a little interesting tidbit about the AI5 chip in there. Take a listen.
Well, we're not. The hardware design will not actually be frozen even through startup production. There'll be continued iteration because a bunch of the things that you discover are very difficult to make. You only find that pretty late in the game. So we'll be doing rolling changes for the Optimus design even after startup production. But I do think that the new hand is an incredible piece of engineering, and that's well, like I said, we'll have a production intent prototype ready to show off in Q1, probably February or March, and then we're going to be building a million unit Optimus production line. Hopefully with a production start towards the end of next year. But that production ramp will take a while to get to annualized rate of 1 million because it's going to move as fast as the slowest, dumbest, least lucky thing out of 10,000 unique items. But it will get to 1 million units, and then ultimately, we'll do Optimus 4. That'll be 10 million units. Optimus 5 maybe 50 to 100 million units. I mean, it's really pretty nutty.
So after listening to that, I'm curious, did AI4 also get changes made to it after it started production? Because if it did, that would mean that my late 2024, my December 2024 build Model 3 Performance has AI 4.1, if that's a thing. I'm curious. I don't know. So that really was the fascinating part of that clip for me. It is cool to hear that we'll see Optimus version 3 near the end of Q1 next year. And when you think about it, we're going to do the Ryan thing one more time in this episode. We're going to zoom out to that 10,000 foot view. Tesla's got a lot coming up. So Q4, right now, this quarter, should be the Roadster re-reveal, per Franz on last week's episode of this podcast. Q1 should be the Optimus re-reveal, if you will. Q2 should be the start of production on the presumably final version of the Tesla Semi, as well as the start of Cybercab production, as we heard earlier. So they are quite the busy bees at Tesla over the next year or so, and Well, there you go. That is your recap, highlights, and analysis of Tesla's Q3 earnings call. I know we're already at 90 minutes here for this episode, so I'm going to skip the Ride the Lightning hotline section of the podcast for this week, but I promise I will come back to it next week. Therefore, if you've got a Tesla or EV related question, comment, or discussion topic for the podcast, feel free to call in. I'd love to hear from you. And again, I'll play some calls on next week's episode. There are 2 easy ways to call in. Either use your smartphone's built-in voice recording software, then just record your question. Please try to keep it to 90 seconds or less so that I can get to as many callers each week as possible. And then email that file to me at my podcast email address, which is teslapodcast@gmail.com. Alternatively, you can simply call in and leave a message on the Ride the Lightning hotline anytime, day or night. It's a toll-free number, and that number is 1-888-989-TSLA. That number again, 1-888-989-8752. All right, as for what is going on with me and my car, well, I had a funny little Tesla service experience today. So I was fortunate enough to have a little bit of leftover referral credit that's going to expire at the end of the year. And the thing I'd been eyeing in the shop, because I'm very lucky, I have a bunch of Tesla shirts and I have all the upgrades that I can have on both my cars. So there's not a ton I can actually spend money on. But what had caught my eye was the Model 3 Performance Winter Tire and Wheel Package, which I confess, I admit, I might never use it. It's possible I might never use it, but the car wears summer tires most of the time, currently all of the time. And if I ever wanted to take my family up to Lake Tahoe in the wintertime, well, summer tires are not a safe way to do that. So, okay, if I've got some leftover credit, I would love to get the winter tire and wheel package for the new Model 3 Performance, which had been on the Tesla shop, but just showing as available in fall of 2025 since it first went up like last year or something. So I'd been keeping my eye on it. And then about, 2-3 weeks ago, I saw that it went up. It was available for sale, so I grabbed it with my referral credit and scheduled a service appointment. Well, Tesla, maybe this is a little learning experience here for them. They could have let me know that it turns out the wheels and tires were not in stock yet. So I got there and they checked with their parts department and nope, no winter tire and wheel package for the Model 3 Performance. The guy was super nice about it. I wasn't mad at him. It wasn't his fault. And I also just I have no urgent need for this whatsoever. Like I said, it might turn out that I never need it. But in fact, I wasn't even going to have them put on the car. The appointment was to have them installed. But I just I bought some tire totes. So I just handed him the box and said, I just want them bagged up and put in the back of my car for use later. So that's all I was looking for. But anyway, he said they'll be in about a week. So okay, that's totally fine. But yeah, ended up going to Tesla service today it didn't turn out to be nothing because they said there was a service bulletin on my car. Again, this is the new one to clean the glass in front of the camera. I don't know if they have it like a special solution to help keep it from fogging up or what, but so they did that. That took them about 15 minutes. So at least it was a somewhat productive visit to Tesla service. And again, since I'm not in any urgent need of those winter tire and wheels at all, I wasn't the slightest bit upset. So that was my little Tesla experience this week. Here's an entertainment recommendation for you. New game, I love it. We gave it an 8 out of 10 at IGN. I didn't do the review, but the game is Ninja Gaiden 4. It's available for PC, PlayStation 5, or Xbox. It's also on Game Pass for Xbox or Game Pass for PC. It is a fast action game, so there are not a lot of games that make me feel awesome while playing them, but the combat moves you do in this game, it's so slick. I mean, it's not easy. There is an easy mode if you're new to it, so you won't get completely slaughtered by the AI enemies, but I'm a big fan of the Ninja Gaiden series, and I'm really, really liking Ninja Gaiden 4 so far. So if that is of interest to you, it's out now. Grab it on your platform of choice. Now, it is time for the Tesla Pro Tip of the Week. It comes from Osman in Sydney.
Hi Ryan, this is Osman speaking from Sydney, Australia. I'm a relatively recent listener, but definitely a new Tesla owner, as I've only had my Model Y Juniper for about 5 months now. My wife and I recently took a long road trip, and on the way back we had a 6.5-hour drive, and it was a Monday, which happens to be the day that your podcast drops for us here in Australia. I wanted to listen to the podcast, but my wife is a serial napper, and she was okay with me listening to the podcast, but in that moment I realized I could use the audio balance feature on my Tesla to minimize the disturbance to my wife. So my pro tip of the week is that if you want to minimize disturbance to your passengers in the car, you can go to the audio setting in your car and click on the balance tab. And on the balance tab, it'll be an image of where you would want the audio from your car to come out from. And just tap on the driver's seat. Once that's selected, only audio will come out from the speakers around the driver and not around anyone else in the car, which should minimize any disturbance to your passengers. I just wanted to share that. Thank you so much for your podcast, and I look forward to listening to you moving forward. Thank you. Bye.
Hi, Osman. I want to say welcome to the Tesla community and welcome to the Ride the Lightning community. I'm so glad that you found this podcast. I love this pro tip, and I appreciate you calling in to share it. It is definitely very considerate for sleeping passengers, and I do genuinely think that there are others out there that are going to want to utilize this. So I'm happy to play this pro tip. Thank you so much for calling in with it. And a reminder, if anybody else out there has a good Tesla or EV pro tip of the week, please call in with it. I would absolutely love to hear it so I can add to my own knowledge base and share it with everybody else listening as well. To send in a pro tip of the week, just send it in like you're sending in a regular Ride the Lightning hotline call, which I gave you the 2 easy call-in methods for just a few minutes ago. I want to mention a couple friends of Ride the Lightning before I get out of here. I know this has been a long one, but if you'll bear with me for just a few more minutes, abstractocean.com. They've got so many great aftermarket accessories for all the Teslas. I want to call out specifically their Cybertruck armor protection, the XPEL pre-cut pieces for the non-stainless parts of the truck. So the tailgate, the bumpers, the wheel arches, if you want to keep those looking extra perfect, extra nice, the folks at Abstract Ocean have you well covered. But they've also got a ton of great stuff for S, for X, for 3, for Y, for Rivian R1S, R1T. Check them out. A lot of lighting kits. The one of their biggest sellers, the tempered glass custom fit screen protectors for each of the cars. Just go take a look, abstractocean.com, and use the coupon code RTLPodcast at checkout to get 15% off of your first order. That coupon code, again, has no spaces in it. It's just RTL Podcast. The Snap Plate and the newer, stronger Snap Plate Plus available for all the Teslas as well. I'm a big fan of this because it is a nice, clean, minimalist design, and it'll go on safely and securely, but also if you ever want to take it off for any reason at all, it will come off nice and easily and without leaving behind any tape residue or anything unwanted. So it'll be like it was never there, but when it's on there nice and snug, and it's just, again, got a nice, clean, minimalist look. To get yours, go to everyamp.com/RTL, and don't forget to use the coupon code RTL as well for a discount on those. They are both made from recycled, made in the USA plastics with stainless steel reinforcements. Good stuff on the snap plates. Immaculate Reflections. That's my detailer here in the greater San Francisco Bay Area. And if you are in or going to be in this neck of the woods with a car that you care about, whether it's your Tesla or something else in your garage, I encourage you, prior to your arrival in the area, to reach out to Immaculate Reflections and schedule in an appointment for either ceramic coating, so that you don't have to worry about waxing your car for the next 5+ years. Maybe you want to do paint correction to get all the little flaws taken out of the paint. Maybe you want to do some paint protection film on the front end of the car, or all the key areas of the car, or the entire car. Whatever you want to do, there is a discount waiting for you. All you got to do is mention that you're a Ride the Lightning listener. So go to irdetailing.com, and when you are done browsing around, when you go to the contact link there, when you reach out, just mention in your message that you're a Ride the Lightning listener, and any work that you book in will have that Ride the Lightning listener discount not approved, applied. There we go. Sorry, my brain is failing. It's getting late, and I need some dinner. That is clearly what's happening right now. Finally, my Patreon. I know I mentioned it earlier, but patreon.com/Tesla podcast. That is the website to go to if you are feeling up for supporting me. I would love it. I'd be humbled and grateful if you chose to throw me $5 a month. That'll get you early access and ad-free early access to each week's episode. If you jump up to that $10 per month tier, that's the most popular one, you'll get the ad-free early access and all of those lightning round mini episodes that I do as well. So head on over to patreon.com/Tesla podcast. If the month-to-month thing isn't your thing, but you'd like to support me and you'd rather just pay once for an entire year of support, there is an annual pledge option as well, as the Labradors are rumbling on the couch over here. If you're hearing that, that's what's going on. They are, and one of them's about to fall off the couch. Oh, nope. They recovered before flopping onto the ground. Anyway, there's a 10% discount on the annual pledge if you want to go that route. That's my way of saying thank you for committing to a full year of Patreon support. So again, one more time, patreon.com/Tesla podcast, or click the link in the episode description. You can follow this podcast on any of the big podcast feeds, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify or TuneIn or YouTube podcasts. Just search Ride the Lightning Tesla. When it pops up, click the follow button, and then you will be notified every time there is a new episode, which in my case is every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. And Lily, that is enough, little lady. Come on, guys. I'm trying to do a podcast here. Daisy. Hold on. Help us. Wait. Oh, my goodness. These guys are not stopping. Hold on. Daisy. My goodness. Okay, mine are off. Let's go. There we go. All right. Just take a little break here. That's all we got to do. Where did I leave off? You can follow me on X and or on Instagram. My username is DMC_Ryan. You can also email me anytime, and my email address is teslapodcast@gmail.com. Before I say goodbye for this week, let me say hello and thank you to the top tier Patreon backers. I'll start with the Maximum Plaid crew. They are Jonathan Wales, Cameron Clark, Daniel Grummer, Seth Capello, Nick and Tony, the Galpin family, Ryan from New York City, Darren Nickel, Kaz Barnes, Patrick Wisniewski, Gil Cabrera, Todd Badger, Joe Edgel, Kevin Yank, the Tesla Owners Club of San Joaquin Valley, Will Stedman, Justin Perez, Jeremy Harris, Chris Beach, Tom Mills, Corey O'Donnell, Aaron, John Cody, Joel Sapp, Paul Casarino, Chris Osborne, KB, Adam Lavoie, Jason Chalukas, Travis Krenzel, Bruce Otterstein, Tom Behan, Josh Pennington, John from Cream Ridge, New Jersey, Dustin Hart, Derek Finley, Charles Clement, Damon Klein, Jeff Brown, Jerry Slinger, Kenneth Corbett, Brian Bertoglio, Kim Bay, Troy Sievers, Nick Jacoby, Chip Hooper, Matt Chinander, Robert Moran, Rav, and Christopher Mann. Next up, the Roadster in Space tier backers. Huge extra thanks to these extra generous folks: Pete White, Lyle Austin, Steve Radspinner, Fernando Cordero, Lawton from Chicago, Sean Neidig, Neil Weaver, Jackson Wallace, Rolf and Jennifer Evers, Howard Anthony Smith, Victoria Iacovetto, Tesla Hitchhiker 42, Carol Weston, Robert from near Philly, American Home Contractors, Doug Carey, Michael Gallo, and Tony Figueroa. And finally, the grandfathered-in Plaid level supporters, big thanks for your continued support to George Cassiopo, Logan Willis, Peter Chalet, Eric Randolph, Dory and Steve Guberman, the Tesla Owners Club of Taiwan, Ron Lee, Charlie Gillespie, Jeff Angwin, Chase Cabanillas, the Lydia family, Aaron Altschul, Jared Brown, Jerome Strack, Jamie Dalton, Mike and Barbara from Louisville, Matt Nixon, the Tesla Owners Club of Wisconsin, Ish, not Elon Musk in quotes, Peter, and the Bear Boys of Colorado. And that'll wrap it up for a very long, these earnings call episodes do tend to be fairly long, so I won't drag this one on any longer. I will simply say thank you for your time, your attention. Both of those things are precious, valuable resources that we all only have a limited quantity of in a given day, in a given week, in a given life. So thank you for listening. I do appreciate it. Happy electric motoring, my friends, and I'll see you back here next week.
Elon Musk, people don't like Elon Musk. The guy founded PayPal and Tesla, and people are like, yeah, but he's a troll and a bad dad. I'm like, so was mine. He did nothing to fight climate change. Also, have you been in a Tesla? Have you been in a Tesla? My buddy let me drive his Tesla. I laughed out loud at how fast it went. Been clinically depressed my entire life, on dozens of medications, in a Tesla for 13 seconds, cured forever.
I mean, I think a Tesla is the most fun thing you could possibly buy ever. That's what it's meant to be. Our goal is to make it's not exactly a car. It's actually a thing to maximize enjoyment. It's maximum fun.